did not have any stake in ownership and control structures within their own economic spaces, the geographical location they were in at that time that was the subject of colonialism. Now, how do we resonate with this, right? The fact that the local population were merely laborers. They provided labor to the old empire, but they could not be equity shareholders in the companies that they were setting up in our economies that were previously colonized. Now think about data centers. It applies the same logic because the ownership and control of data centers that are powered by African minerals and natural resources, the ownership and control doesn't sit with the governments that provide these minerals for the support of these data centers. So look at the colonial demarcations, and that's the challenge that we're trying to say. When we're thinking about digitalization, some of the challenges that we mentioned, the legal challenges that are there, the jurisdictional challenges that are there, think about the historical challenges that impact how we're also progressing towards digitalization. And let me go back to the data centers. For a data center, there's certain minerals that are really important. Copper, because copper is needed to distribute power. The way in which the data centers function, they need electricity. The supply has to come to the copper lines. The cooling system of the data centers is basically through the copper lines that are provided. Cobalt is also a very important, it's a key ingredient when it comes to the data centers. What does cobalt do? It helps manufacture the backup power batteries that are needed in case there's a power outage. We need lithium, we need rare earth minerals. Where are these minerals coming from? So for data centers, copper is really important. Now, majority of the copper is sourced from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia. Do any of the governments, the DRC and the Zambian government, do they have any ownership and controlled stake in the data centers that sit in Maryland or in other Western jurisdictions? And isn't that really an extractive logic in the same place? Why is it that the ownership and control of data centers is not shared with some of these governments that are providing these rich resources that power digitalization? And digitalization cannot be ring-fenced, it's global. So we have to think about global governance of it, and that's where it's really important to think about the ownership and control structures. And the most important example I want to give you is the war that happened in DRC together with Rwanda. And the US was the one that came to broker the peace. Do you know the consequences of that? So when the US was brokering the peace between DRC and Rwanda, they had an agreement with these two countries that will help you get to the peace deal, but at the end of it, we want to have preferential access to some of the mines in DRC. Isn't that extractive? That takes us to the first problem of colonialism. And then the second problem, that the ownership and the control structures are divested from African sovereignty. So even as we think about digitalization, we should really, really focus on our history, because history repeats itself. And the third problem of colonialism was that it brought about knowledge and capability asymmetries. So the local population could grow cotton, but they were not allowed to make clothes. They could mine the copper, but they were not allowed to manufacture electronics. That is the knowledge asymmetry. And that asymmetry is also played out today in the semiconductor industry.